Hello, everyone! The developers have released the December dev feedback where they responded to suggestions for improving the game. In this video, I'll quickly and clearly explain what interesting things the developers shared with us. The first suggestion was about adding a way to set a player's role to R4 when they join the Alliance. The developers responded positively. We will add the Officer Whitelist feature, which will automatically assign a player their original role when they rejoin the Alliance. The second suggestion was War Frenzy limit-related issues. Personally, I haven't encountered this new mechanic yet, but I've heard a lot of complaints about it. If you don't know what this is about, War Frenzy Limit is the developers' attempt to fight account piloting. But judging by everything so far, their first attempt wasn't very successful. Now I'll briefly explain how it works. The developers' idea was that we shouldn't be able to fight more than 16 hours per day, and after reaching that limit, the game gives you an 8-hour cooldown. Sounds fair, but in practice it doesn't work the way many people expected. Right now, the game doesn't take breaks during the day into account. To make it clearer, here's an example. You activate War Frenzy in the morning, and from that moment, your 24-hour window starts. You play for 6 hours, take a 2-hour break, then play another 8 hours in the evening and go to sleep for 6 hours. In the morning, you play for 2 more hours, and then you get an 8-hour cooldown. If you didn't catch the point, without that cooldown, we already rested for 8 hours within the last 24 hours while sleeping and taking a 2-hour break during the day, but the game didn't count that. Honestly, I don't understand why the developers didn't think about this, because the original idea was good if it had been implemented the way it sounds. Let's get back to the suggestion. The new mechanism instead forces players to find pilots to avoid wasting the valuable 16-hour battle window. Players' offline time should also count toward mandatory rest rather than being ignored by the system. It is recommended to adopt a more intuitive frenzy bar, turning War Frenzy into a mechanic similar to the Action Points bar, so players can clearly see consumption and recovery, avoiding complex calculations. War Frenzy time tracking should be visible in the battle interface, allowing players to see remaining time and recovery status in real time during combat. I really like this solution, but here's what the developers replied. The War Frenzy limit is still in its testing phase, and we will be optimizing it in the near future. Planned improvements include better visibility of War Frenzy time tracking while taking consideration of players' fragmented breaks, allowing governors to recover from the recovery status sooner. This sounds like they understood the problem and planned to fix it. I think if the game starts properly accounting for fragmented breaks, there won't be any issues with the War Frenzy limit, and it will work well. The third suggestion was about adding a Fortress Leaderboard, and the developers replied, "We will be adding a Fortress Leaderboard, which is currently under development." Right now, in many kingdoms, Bob Fortress statistics are tracked using third-party tools, and now this will be integrated directly into the game. On one hand, this is good, because third-party tools are paid and not everyone could afford them. On the other hand, more kingdoms will start setting goals for players to destroy barbarian fortresses. Don't get me wrong, doing fortresses is very beneficial for the kingdom, but I personally don't like this mechanic. It's a waste of time that brings no enjoyment and is just pure routine. The developers recently added Fortress Search, which made things easier, but honestly, I'd like to see full automation, similar to what they did with barbarians. Fortresses aren't something you can do in a single login. You have to log in multiple times and use a second device to include farm accounts in the process. It's boring and time-consuming, and I don't think this should exist in the game in its current form. I've been playing this game for almost 4 years now, and I'm really not interested in doing routine tasks for that long. The fourth suggestion, implementing a reports manager-like feature that can manage reports by pairs and extract data to get insightful data in-game. It can even be tied to the new Commander Strategies section, feeding it with valuable data about how pairs perform for other players. The developers replied, "A series of updates introducing more advanced features will be coming soon, including trigger effect statistics, keyword searches within battle reports, and records for specific structures such as flags. Judging by the response, this isn't exactly what the suggestion was about, but it will still be very useful. Ideally, of course, they would make something closer to a real reports manager. The fifth suggestion, as I understand it, was about adding the ability to disable multi-battle broadcasts because they interfere during combat. The developers replied, "We have optimized the battle report display. In addition, we've added a new toggle in combat settings, display to reduce multi-battle broadcasts, which should significantly alleviate this issue." This really was a problem, so it's good that the developers are fixing it. The sixth suggestion, resource carriages issue. Resource carriages shouldn't be counted as marches. Players should be able to use the carriages the same way they send scouts. It should not fill a march spot. This would actually be very convenient, because sometimes you need to send resources during a fight and not always to a nearby city. But judging by everything, the developers are not planning to do this yet, although they are looking for solutions. The seventh suggestion included quite a lot, so I'll try to be brief. The first point was that now we receive crystals for the training stage in Pre-KvK only 5 days after entering the KvK map, which slows down tech progression. The suggestion was to somehow move these rewards to an earlier stage. It's important to note that not everyone has Pre-KvK happening on the KvK map yet, but apparently this issue exists, and here's what the developers said. "We're sorry that we have decided not to implement this change for now, so the training stage rewards remain unchanged." Basically, they're saying they'll leave it as is, but don't rush to get angry. There's a point later where they compensate for this. Moving on. Lucky Stall event problem. The Lucky Stall event used to align with the training stage, but now it ends before players even start serious training. This design makes the stage more resource draining, which doesn't speed up KvK. It slows it down. The developers replied that they will fix this and adjust the schedule. Problem: Marauders have become pointless. Once Lost Kingdom begins, players must focus on defeating barbarians to collect the crystals needed for crystal tech upgrades. There's neither time nor incentive to hunt Marauders anymore. And here's the developers' response. Adjustments are currently in progress to make Marauder crystal drops equivalent to those of barbarians. When the Eve of the Crusade and Lost Kingdom events are active at the same time, high-level Marauders and Marauder encampments will spawn in the Lost Kingdom. Defeating them will drop crystal items, but will consume more action points. These changes will be applied in future updates. I really like this, and honestly, this could give a huge boost to our crystal income if the new Marauders turn out to be more efficient than barbarians. Because right now, Marauders are already more rewarding than KvK barbarians, and the only reason to choose barbarians is crystals. But it looks like this might change. Moving on. Heart of Desire event. Problem: it appears after Zone 5, which makes it impossible to complete quests that require spending sovereign keys. The developers said they will fix this. The eighth suggestion: KvK tech in Home Kingdom. Crystal tech should last till the next Pre-KvK. Everyone will benefit from this. You can farm extra resources with the extra marches, use KvK tech to zero dead weights. Sounds great, of course, but in my opinion this would be too much and way too generous. Here's what the developers replied. "We apologize that currently we have no plans to extend the duration of Crystal Tech for now, as it is a seasonal feature and it is designed to expire at the end of the season. However, we understand players' desire for an improved preparation experience and have plans to enhance the pre-season phase in the future. The current design direction is as follows. At the end of KvK, a new shop will open where players can purchase buffs that can be used for a limited time during the Home Kingdom period, which is based on their KvK performance. So basically, there will be some kind of shop where we can buy buffs for the off-season, and apparently this will depend on our KvK performance. That sounds great and should really help with zeroing dead weight and maybe even with farming resources. The ninth suggestion was related to the crystal mine. When it's full, the icon doesn't change color like regular resource mine do. The developers said they will fix this. The 10th suggestion, multi-speed-up option. Just like in Call of Dragons, please add the option to use multiple speed-ups at once in Rise of Kingdoms. In Call of Dragons, there's a feature that automatically uses the best combination of speed-ups from highest to lowest, so you don't have to scroll and manually select each one. As far as I understand, this is about making it work similarly to how it works in the Crystal Academy. I can't really say this is something we truly need, since we usually only use speed-ups that aren't needed for speed-up exchanges. Still, the developers said that we will be making adjustments, and the specific implementation plan is still under discussion. The 11th suggestion was about keep crystals in items that we get after KvK. The idea is that they shouldn't automatically activate at the start of KvK because maybe we don't want to spend them right away. The game should wait to automatically open these crystal items until after they teleport into the KvK map. The developers replied, "We will consider making the corresponding adjustments to allow players who are on vacation status to keep their crystals." The 12th suggestion is something many players would like to see: KvK burden reduction. Reduce healing cost for both T4 and T5 by a large percentage for both resources. Speed-ups drastically increase the returns percent after KvK. Scale up the rewards across the board drastically, especially for post-Essos. They need a big buff. Alter the helps mechanics pertaining to healing troops. Buff the number and level of speed-ups, barbs, forts, drop. Double size of resources nodes, capacity, and make them equal in resources, quantity for each type, or a combination of all. Truly find it ironic. You talk about trying to reduce burden, but rarely address the biggest burden. For players is being forced to run farms, which is a laborious and mundane task. I agree with a lot of this. The only thing I might disagree with is the scale of some of these increases, but overall, this is exactly what the developers should be doing to reduce the burden on players. However, the developers decided to go a different route. We have noted the issues you mentioned and are currently prioritizing efforts to address them. We are currently considering introducing of a new shop where players can exchange a claim for healing potions. This shop would refresh periodically, have exchange limits, and allow the healing potions to be used directly for troop healing. The specific implementation is still under design. They already did something similar in one of the KvK modes, but it didn't have much value there. Everything will depend on how many healing potions we can actually get. Honestly, it's a bit disappointing that such a serious issue is answered with just a new shop, because the problem definitely exists. Take the help limit, for example. I understand that many players never hit it during fights, but for those who fight a lot, it's a real issue. I understand why this limit exists, to prevent abuse of free healing through helps. But let's be honest, in the late game, nobody does that anymore. Increasing the help limit would genuinely help save speed-ups. The 13th suggestion was about creating farming kingdoms that wouldn't participate in KvK and would have cheaper migration when players decide to leave such kingdoms. The idea is actually good, and the developers said, "We are currently working on improving farming, PvE experience. Please stay tuned for further updates on specific solutions." Basically, they didn't give us a clear answer here. The 14th suggestion was about timeline visibility of KvK stories, so officers wouldn't have to manually calculate when each pass opens. The developers said, "We plan to implement changes based on your feedback. The specific release version has not yet been determined, so please stay tuned for future updates." So they are planning to introduce some kind of solution, which is great and will make life much easier for officers. That was the last suggestion. Overall, this dev feedback turned out pretty decent. There are some good points. Personally, I really liked that Marauders will now give crystals. There's at least some movement toward a reports manager. The healing potions shop is also not bad news, even if it's not an ideal solution, and War Frenzy limit should also be fixed. Overall, it's pretty solid, but to be honest, in many cases I was expecting better solutions. Still, I'm glad the developers at least see these problems, and that's already a big step forward. Thanks everyone for watching.